George Romero's Night of the Living Dead is a masterpiece of working with what you have. It's a little bit rickety and full of imperfections, but the energy and inspiration are unmistakable. After years of working on commercials and industrial films, the crew of Image 10 brought many of their low-budget techniques into the world of horror. And 50 years later, we can still see how they turned these early limitations into a series of virtues. Let's consider one particular restriction. Part of the filmmaker's early style emerged from the equipment, or rather the lack of equipment, that they had access to. The 35mm Arriflex camera they used needed to be put inside a blimp in order to record synchronized sound. The blimp weighed 70 pounds. If the filmmakers were shooting dialogue, then the camera had to be on a tripod, and they had no dolly track, so they could only pan or tilt.
Staring at me. I started to drive. I just plowed right through them. They didn't move. They didn't run or just stood there staring at me.
About 2/3 of Night of the Living Dead needed synchronized sound and also took place inside one location. So the filmmakers often shot dialogue in singles, focusing on one speaker at a time.
Don't make any noise. Anybody would know somebody if needed help.
Look, it's kind of hard to hear what's going on from down there.
We thought we could hear screams, but for all we knew, that could have meant those things were in the house afterward.
In these singles, a character will often say their lines, then exit frame.
All right, now you tell me.
Allowing the filmmakers to change camera setups for the next batch of dialogue.
I'm not going to take that kind of a chance when we got a safe place. We luck into a safe place, and you're telling us we got to risk our lives just because somebody might need help, huh?
Even though the camera is restricted, the actors are always moving into new angles, creating a variety of coverage. This habit may have come from shooting commercials, where the filming happens quickly and the actors tend to say only one line at a time.
Oh, this box has never been opened.
Add the Calgon.
In Night of the Living Dead, this same style keeps the pace up by spacing out the dialogue.
This place is ridiculous. Look at this. There's a million weak spots up here. Give me one of those.
It also creates an interesting rhythm within the editing, and it gives the audience time to look around the room. Best of all, it allows the filmmakers to trap us in one location without constantly repeating the same angle. But what did the filmmakers do for the other 1/3 of the film, when sync sound wasn't needed? If Romero took the Arriflex out of the blimp, he could shoot handheld and move freely. Of course, now there was no sound, and it all had to be added in post. Because he was the camera operator, Romero was able to quickly change setups and get more coverage. And because he was the editor, he was essentially cutting sequences in his head as he shot. An early commercial for Duke Beer shows us this method.
If anybody asks you, I'm a natural man. If anybody asks you, I'm a natural man.
When you hit a dry spell, what's the natural way to wet it down?
Honey, how about a beer?
With a tall, cold Duke.
Even though this is an ad for beer, the first 20 seconds focuses on a man mowing his lawn. The camera is kept low to the ground, looking up at the man, and the lawnmower is highlighted by bringing it close to the lens. There are lots of close-ups of arms and hands, and every shot ends with some movement that cuts into complementary movement in the next shot. Even a frame like this, which is not quite in focus, is useful because the lens flare and the silhouette add a sense of unplanned realism. In Night of the Living Dead, this same style recurs whenever Ben is reinforcing the house. Camera low to the ground, lots of arms and hands.
Shape of monsters. Reaction of law enforcement officials is one of complete bewilderment at this hour. So far, we have been unable to determine that any kind of organized investigation is yet underway. Police, sheriff's deputies, and emergency ambulances are literally deluged with calls for help, and the scene can best be described as mayhem.
The process of lighting a fire is broken down into multiple shots, and it emphasizes the man and his labor. Indeed, for long stretches, Night of the Living Dead becomes a film about manual processes. How do you board up a house? Where do you find the wood? Just like the filmmakers, Ben is using whatever tools are at hand. And by bringing the lens close to the action and cutting with this staccato rhythm, Romero stretches these moments out into miniature set pieces. They're filmed like little commercials, except the product being advertised is for killing the undead.
Thousands of office and factory workers are being urged to stay at their places of employment, not to make any attempt to get to their homes. However, in spite of this urging and warning, streets and...
We can think of Night of the Living Dead as almost a binary film. There are the moments of calm, mostly shot on a tripod, and the moments of chaos, generally shot handheld. And the filmmakers build tension from this simple contrast. For instance, when our characters are watching television, the image is stable and symmetrical. But once the announcer says something disturbing,
Civil Defense Headquarters in Washington. It has been established that persons who have recently died have been returning to life and committing acts of murder.
the reaction shots are handheld, close and intimate. Part of the reason for filming this way was simple efficiency. There was no dialogue in these shots, and it was faster to get them handheld. But the effect on the audience is interesting. By mixing stable and unstable footage, the filmmakers keep us uneasy, even during the quiet moments.
Tom, you and I will have to unboard this door. After you toss the cocktails, you hustle back down here and lock this door. It's no good to board it up because we'll have to get back in quickly. After we get the gas and get back into the house, then we'll worry about getting everybody into the truck. Now let's move it.
No place to flee for safety, except to the rescue stations which have been set up.
But how and when do they release this tension once it's built up? Consider the film's famous cemetery opening. The first time we see a ghoul, it's presented briefly, with none of the shots lasting longer than 4 seconds. And when Barbara gets scared, this shot is quite lengthy. But then very methodically, the shots get shorter and shorter.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Stop it! You're ignorant.
They're coming for you, Barbara.
Stop it! You're acting like a child.
They're coming for you. Look, there comes one of them now.
He'll hear you.
Here he comes now. I'm getting out of here.
Johnny!
The shot just before the attack actually gets longer, the better to contrast when...
Oh! No! No! Johnny! Help me!
Romero uses this expand and contract approach throughout the film. Just before an attack, we often get a calm but brief look at the ghouls, often shot on a tripod. Everything seems fine, but it distracts us from the moment when the film very subtly switches to handheld.
There are a lot out back, too.
So far, the best advice there is...
The film's editing is always playing a game, trying to lure us into a false sense of security before the next surprising barrage. And one thing that makes these attacks effective are the little mistakes. Because of its low budget, the film features dozens of out-of-focus shots and technical errors. Ben often doesn't make contact with the person he's supposed to be hitting. Sometimes screen direction changes on the hit, from moving right to moving left. Much of the film's violence is deliberately obscured. It almost looks like a mistake, as if the action is too close for the camera to see it clearly. Romero sometimes incorporates little jump cuts into the editing for effect. When Barbara sees a ghoul outside, her reaction is actually a jump, which puts a rhythmic beat on her close-up. As she races towards the door, we get another barely noticeable cut, to add rightward movement to the frame. And when Ben first appears, we see the lights of the truck for 7 frames before his face. It's a tiny moment, but it contributes to the sense of agitation. And ultimately, one of the reasons the film still feels modern is because these low-budget techniques are still in use. It's hard to think of a zombie film that doesn't feature long scenes of process, the survivors trapped in a single location, roughly framed scenes of violence, and the contrast between our characters and the larger impact of the epidemic.
Chief, if I were surrounded by 6 or 8 of these things, would I stand a chance with them?
Well, there's no problem. If you had a gun, shoot him in the head. That's a sure way to kill him. If you don't, get yourself a club or a torch. Beat him or burn him. They go up pretty easy.
Well, Chief McClellan, how long do you think it will take you until you get the situation under control?
Well, that's pretty hard to say. We don't know how many of them there are. We know when we find them, we can kill them.
Are they slow-moving, Chief?
Yeah, they're dead. They're all messed up.
Well,
In many ways, these filmmakers weren't just recombining elements of the horror film, but also some of their own commercials. The officials talking to the camera, the men tired from a hard day's work, the idyllic helicopter views of nature, or the use of archival stills. They took the things they knew how to do and applied them in a way that was clever and unique. Even today, Night of the Living Dead remains deeply inspiring. Like the house that Ben reinforces, the film is built out of whatever was available, and yet it's absolutely strong and sturdy. 50 years later, its influence and legacy remain very much alive.